Yeah, from Daisy Dukes to business.
Hi, it's me, Dr. J. Thank you for joining us for another segment of Behavior, Health, and Wellness. I have the privilege to be here today with Dr. Carey Yazeed. How are you today, Dr. Yazeed?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Look, you're one of my favorite people. I will say that. Let me just get that on out there.
Well,
Um,
it's nice to know.
Oh yeah, I gravitate to educated females. I gravitate to strength. Look, I will latch on to you in a minute because I recognize people iron sharpens iron. So you have to be able to point out those people that can actually make you even better. And I strive every day to be the best that I can be. And you're one of those people that caught my eye. And speaking of that, just tell us about yourself and a little bit about your background.
Well, you and I have been knowing each other since what, 2015. You
Right.
had the privilege of being on the committee that interviewed me for my first assistant professor position.
Yeah.
So my background really, for 23 years, I served as a clinical social worker in the state of Louisiana. And part of that was teaching in several of the schools of social work, Louisiana State University, the Southern University system, which included Southern in New Orleans, and also Southern in Baton Rouge for both of their social work programs. I also had a private practice that I ran for 20 years. And in my private practice, I would specialize in working with female survivors of sexual assault. Um, Closed my private practice in 2016, walked away from the field of social work in 2016, and transitioned into serving as a business coach and helping African American females who currently have a business to scale and grow their business. Because that was what I was seeing as being a big issue. You know, we know how to start a business, but usually we get stuck in how do we take what we have and we build it and make it grow, where that business is generating income for us versus, we're having to constantly work in our business. We can work on our business, and there's a big difference. And I was seeing that Black females were falling by the wayside. That wasn't taking place. The other thing that I do as a business owner now is I also serve as a book coach. And so I help people to tell their story. And I particularly like to work with entrepreneurs and professionals who want to start a conversation in their industry. They're looking to solidify themselves as an expert in their industry.
Right.
And so there's a certain way that that has to be done. And so I have published 4 books, with my first one, which was a fiction best-selling, urban fiction bestseller back in 2007. I've published 4 books since then. Also have an anthology that is coming out this month, actually in the next 2 weeks. That'll be coming out. So real excited.
Congratulations on that. And look, author to author, I understand the blood, sweat, and tears that goes, the labor of love into birthing your works. I am in the process of putting out another project myself any day now. But congratulations on that. In the anthology, I know that had to be great working with a diverse group of ladies. Tell me about the anthology.
So the anthology was not on my honey-do list when we started 2020. That's not on my vision board, was not on my radar. And then COVID hit and it impacted all of us. And I started to hear the stories of especially Black women and what they were going through in corporate America, and how corporate America was treating them during this time.
Right.
And it was just placed on my heart, basically. Like, God was like, you need to help them to tell their stories. This isn't going to be your story. This isn't your time to shine. Give them a platform, give them your audience, and allow people to hear what Black women go through when it comes to racism in corporate America. Because, we hear about Black men, especially about their experiences, but Black women have really been ignored for a long period of time. And so the anthology consists of the stories of 20 Black women, and they are talking about their traumas, they're talking about their pains, and how some of them overcame what they went through in corporate America. But you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster. Like
Right.
there's a story you can identify with and say, oh, that happened to somebody else too.
Right.
Because that was me as I was reading their stories. And so it's just giving them that voice. And I think it's so timely based on what we have gone through in this country when it comes to racism, period. I think COVID also allowed us to sit still and start to see what is taking place when it pertains to racism, and how a lot of people were saying, it's not about race and racism is over and Jim Crow is over. And it's just like, nah, it really isn't. We just stopped having the conversation.
Definitely.
So this book is starting the conversations back up.
And when I looked up all of the information, the beauty brains in business, I love it. Because I mean, you give a bold explanation as to why I'm doing this, who my clientele is. But what stood out, your mission statement, you say you wanted to teach Black women how to be phenomenal business women, and you also wanted to help them with money, to understand the importance of money. One of the people who I told you I really do, I love to look at strength, especially in people who look like me. I'm not, I can be very diverse, but when people look like me, sometimes I'm more, I gravitate to them a little more, I guess. I'm in a sorority, so that bonding, we're in the same sorority. That bonding aspect, is one of those things that I do. And I know that Lynn Richardson, I had the opportunity to do a book signing when I first started writing, and it was the best position I could have been in, because in those book signings you don't always know who your seatmate is going to be, and she just so happened to be one of mine. And she just was like, make sure you understand about your money, baby. And at the time I didn't really get it, but as she grows and as she's out there talking about, the importance of knowing your value and your worth, it's something that you can actually identify with, and is very important. So to see you to have that in your mission statement, how is that accepted when you're talking to your clients and getting them to understand, look, know your worth and know how to incorporate your money?
It's interesting because I tend to have a lot of people who come from social service backgrounds. So I get a lot of career coaches, I get a lot of burnt out social workers who are looking for a change. And I also tend to attract a lot of business owners who have great businesses, but they have low self-esteem. And money is a fear factor. Like, they don't like to talk about money. And so when you got to sit with me for an hour and a half and I'm asking, what's your bottom line? Like, what's your profit and loss? And you can't tell me I don't know. I'll push them to see why it is relevant. I push them to see what is that you are worth something, that this, last night I had a conversation with the group of women that I work with, and one was preparing to start doing leadership groups. And when we were talking about her pricing, I said, okay, you are not a nonprofit organization and you are not a charity. So I need you to revisit those numbers that you just filled out. And everybody just threw their hands up like, you knew she was going to say that. Like,
Right.
It's like, and she said, the numbers make me uncomfortable. And I said, good, that means I'm doing my job. If you're comfortable about those numbers, I'm not doing my job.
Right. And it's speaking about money is almost a dirty word sometimes. And if you're in business, if you are not, as you said, even nonprofits are in the business of raising money for their organization. So you have
they
to
just
be
have to
comfortable.
spend it all by the end of the
Right.
year.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they're not in it to make money.
Right.
And so I go in and I dispel a lot of the myths. And I, it took me a while coming from the field of social work. I will not say that I was just like overnight had it together. I struggled with that because I wanted to help everybody and give away the whole kitchen table, and then I had to realize there is no 9 to 5 to fall back on. This has got to sustain your lifestyle in addition to your business. And so that is what I instill in the clients that I work with. Even if they have a 9 to 5, I say, you forget that you have a job. Now, I need you to look at your household expenses and your business expenses, and you need to come up with your prices, because your business needs to be able to take care of itself and your household. So when you leave that 9 to 5, you can, this is not a shocker. All of a sudden you're trying to incorporate household expenses that you never incorporated before. No, let's shock your system now, and let's get in the mood right now. Let me get you in that mind frame. And so it becomes a mindset of they have to shift their mindset, and I have to come in and do that. And so that does mean that I push people out of their comfort zone. And when I go back to when I taught in the classroom and I taught research, and I would walk in the first day, everybody hated research. Nobody, especially in the field of social work, nobody likes numbers. That's why most people.
I caught a kill when you said the R word.
Yeah, research. Yeah. And so I would just say, like, today, I have more faith in you today than you have in yourself. But by the end of this class, you will have more faith you will have just as much faith as I had in you, or you will have more, because I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone, and I'm going to get you to see that you can understand numbers, that you can embrace research is going to make a difference in your career. Right. Now, in the process, you're not going to like me. You're going to call me all out my name. I know that. Just don't do it to my face. We're going to be cool. But by the end of this, I am going to make you an expert in your research. And so I take that same philosophy into me as a business coach and me working with my clients, that I know some of them, like, they dread getting on a call with me. But by the time we finish that call, I've helped them to understand a different aspect of their business and money. Right. And that is it. You've got to embrace, if you're going to have a business and be successful, you cannot be afraid of money. And I find that a lot of Black women are afraid to have a conversation about money. Right. I done heard about Jesus and everything else before they want to talk about money. Right. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to pay your bills and you're trying to be successful, you need to understand your numbers. You have to. And so
and time, because we grew up, and I know I growing up thought the most precious commodity was money. Get your money. But the more I educated myself, I find that it's time, and time is money. And if I am going to invest my time, and we're talking about this subject that is so important to you because you're listening to me, then I should be compensated for my time. And I feel that we don't value our worth. We always say, well, the going rate is this, but I'm only charge this. Why aren't you worth the going rate? Your time.
Right. And what I found is that people they think if I lower my rates, that'll get more people in the door. No, right. It's not. Because some people still not going to pay $10 for something. Like, that's just their mindset. Right. The other thing is, like, you have to know your worth, and, time is valuable, but you also have to realize that you had to become the person that you are, to become that expert. You either went to school, that cost you financially, and some of us still owe Sally Mae, and now we owe her brother too. So we have student loans that we're paying back, but then it becomes you're investing in CEUs, you're investing in courses that you're taking. And so, when people tell me, oh, well, I'm going to go on Google and figure it out. Girl, you go right ahead, because I'm definitely not the person you need to work with if you're going to Google your way through this.
Google you.
But as a business owner, you have to realize all the how you invested in yourself to become the expert that you are.
Right.
And that didn't happen on Google.
Right.
Like you had to spend some money. And so your clients have to be able to realize that within themselves. If they want to get to a certain spot, or they want you to bake a cake for them, or whatever, they want their hair to look a certain way, they are going to have to go into their wallet, pull out their credit card, and break bread. Nothing is free in this world.
Right.
Nothing.
And we have to
Google
learn how.
ain't even free.
We also have to learn how to invest in ourselves also,
Right.
because I find that that's another area that needs to really be focused on sometimes. We have to understand, just like we invest in our education, we invest in some of these expensive clothes that we like to wear. Look, I love to look good, I love to smell good. It's an investment. Invest in yourself, though. Invest in your advertising, invest in your business if you want to grow your business. But look, talking about this right now with you, I could go on because I love to be challenged, and I love to talk to people who can go back and forth with me. But look, I must say this, Dr. Yazeed, not only talking about your years as a social worker, which you may not have your private practice, but you're still doing social work, and I know it in your beauty bands and business. So, once a social worker, always making that impact. But I have to make sure people know you weren't just a social worker. You had a bookstore, African American bookstore. You had a photography studio. You had an online bath and body shop, a publishing company. Your clients are in the best hands. Tell me about your ventures into these different areas of your life.
Okay, so usually when I start a business, is from a problem that I have.
Okay.
So the when I started my first business, actually was my very first business was in high school. And I love to read. I've always been a reader. And I realized that people in my English class didn't like English.
Right.
So I would read the book and be like, okay, what kind of grades you need? And I would write their book report for them. They paid me. English teachers showed me how to set up my prices, and so that became my first hustle in high school. I would do people's papers for them for English. And the English teachers knew it was me. And they were just like, if they dumb enough to pay you, like,
Wow.
okay. And then from there, once I became like a young adult, got my degree, especially my master's degree in social work, I actually was doing some work for, back then it was called OCS, now it's called
Right.
DCFS.
Right.
I'm telling my age, okay?
Right.
And I was there, and they needed an African American social worker to do home visits.
Right.
They didn't have anybody. And so I was like, I don't have a private practice, I don't have a business. And I'll never forget, his name was Joe. And Joe said, okay, you got 2 weeks to go set all of that up.
Right.
And here's the paperwork to become a contract worker. And he was like, you're going to start getting paid for this. And so I got baptized by fire, set up a business and started doing home visits. And then from there, started getting contracts with the state and really started to understand how business worked.
Right.
And my office came from, I had my own kids. I was getting tired of doing home visits because I was the person who go around the state of Louisiana to see people to do an assessment.
Right.
And so I scaled back, started my own private practice where people came to see me. And from there, that just kind of grew. And the kids that they would give me to work with were survivors of sexual assault.
Okay.
And I had just seen one too many kids who had a horror story of something that had happened to them. And so I scaled up and started seeing adults and females. And that was kind of where my practice really took off and really started to grow. The photography studio came about in the midst of that because I had 2 kids.
Right.
And whenever we went to take pictures, we never got there clean. Never happened. We had spit up, poop, you name it, just didn't happen.
Right.
And so one day I bought them some cute little outfits and I plopped them down in the front yard in some grass.
Right.
And I took a picture and then I took it to the store and had it blown up. And I said, and they were just like, oh my goodness, this is great. And you have an eye. And, social media was just kind of starting then, but I started sharing my pictures with people, and people were like, well, will you take pictures of my kids? And I want pictures like that, like in their natural environment. So here I am with the camera running after toddlers. So we would take them places like to the park,
Right.
and I would just say, Mama, let them loose.
Right.
And the pictures would be of their kids in their natural environment and of them smiling and having fun. And I did black and white because it was classic, but a lot of people weren't doing black and white pictures. And the parents just loved it. And I did that for like 7 years, on top of still being a social worker. And at some point, my now ex-husband, we were both into reading, and we realized that there wasn't an African-American bookstore in Baton Rouge. And so we opened up one, I want to say, and it was right before Katrina, because I remember Katrina happened and we had a lot of people that came through then. And that stayed open about like 2 to 3 years. But that was when I got into publishing, because I would watch how people would decide to buy a book and I would make notes. And during that time also, I kind of taken a break from social work because my mom was ill and I was also her caretaker. And to kind of help just get away from everything, I guess it was supposed to be journaling, but I would make up these characters and write stories about them. And 2 weeks before my mom passed, I allowed her to read it. And so she was just like, oh, this is a book, like this good. And she was like all into it. And I was like, no, it's not. She was like, yes, it is. And she was, girl, you need to publish that. And after she passed, I submitted it to a couple of like literary agents, and they told me no,
Right.
like for various reasons, they said no. And if you haven't figured out by now, I'm not a no kind of person. So I was like, well, let me figure out how to start my own publishing company, and I'm going to self-publish my own book because my mama said it was good.
Right. I found the stories parallel so much on top of, because my publishing company started just from what you said. Don't really like the no thing. And I know if I didn't like no, there had somebody else out there that didn't like no either who could benefit from me finding the answer. So very similar. And look, I told you, iron sharpens iron. And
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we did not just put you in a compartment, because you definitely have laid the foundation. And talking about the foundation, tell me who you would consider to be your accountability partner.
Oh, my kids.
Good.
My 2 sons, because they've been there with me from basically the beginning. But especially like when when my book became a bestseller, urban bestseller, and that wasn't something that I planned for, anticipated, prepared for.
Right.
And so you kind of get thrown out there, and they would be the ones, and they were in elementary school, ironically. And so they would just, tell me about certain outfits, and, they would come and hear me speak, and they would give me honest feedback, but it was innocent feedback because they were kids. So it wasn't they weren't trying to be your yes people. And, sometimes they'd be like, you didn't do your best today. And I'd be like, well, what happened? And they would break it down because they had watched me for so long. And so they could give me that honest and raw feedback. And so even to this day, because now they're young adults, show you how time flies. And so they still will give me input and feedback on certain things. Now they actually listen to me as they go out on their own and do their own things. But if I had to say who my accountability partners are, is definitely my 2 sons.
Well, that is a great answer. And Dr. Yazeed, I really enjoyed speaking with you. I would love to have you to come back again. I wanted to make sure that I did not let you go before I remind people why you are here today. And you are here because I nominated you personally as a bossed up person, a person who is bossed up. Dr. Yazeed, you are doing so much in the community. I would like to personally just let you know that you are setting a foundation for so many of us through leadership, and you are leading by example. You are just a wonderful spirit, and I know that your clients are enjoying the work and the ethic that you are providing them with. So I just wanted to congratulate you and let you know that you are a boss here with Behavior Health and Wellness.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is truly, this is for me is full circle. Having one of my former, I guess, students to watch you grow and then to have me come on your platform, I am truly honored. So thank you for the opportunity.
I appreciate it. And Dr. Yazeed, you continue. I'm watching you. And for those people who want to find out more information about what's going on at the Beauty Brains in Business, how would they get in contact with you?
So you can get in contact with me several ways. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I'm into branding, so everything is going to be Dr. Carey Yazeed. That's how you find me. You can also visit my website, thebeautybrainsinbusiness.com. That's where I do the business coaching. You can also check out the anthology website and contact me from there. And that is called shut'emdownanthology.com. Or you can just send me an email, drcareyyazeed@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm easy to find, okay? I ain't hard to find out there.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Dr. Yazeed. You enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be in contact. For anyone who wants more information from Dr. Yazeed, make sure you look her up. And just thank you for your time here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day, too.
You as well. I'd like to thank you for joining me for another segment of Behavioral Health and Wellness. Thank you to my guest, Dr. Yazeed, for stopping by and providing us with some great information. I hope that you found the information to be something that you can actually use. Feel free to contact her if you have any questions or concerns. And here at Behavioral Health and Wellness, if you know someone who's in the community who may be a good fit for the Boss Up segment, send us an email to behavior.healthandwellness@gmail.com. This is Behavioral Health and Wellness. I am Dr. J, and I am so happy that you can join us today. Until next time, you be well. Thank you.